Welcome back to Caps Hockey Review. It's been a little while since I've been on here, but we're back at it again. Today, we take a look back at a couple games over the past couple weeks. The Caps have been iffy at best. We'll take a look at that briefly, but I really want to get into today's trade deadline, some unexpected moves from the Caps. Here we go. And off we go. Caps Hockey Review back underway. It's great to be with you again. Now, this is going to be mostly about trade deadline today. I will touch briefly on the games that have happened since I've been away. Really, what we saw these last couple weeks for the Caps, it's not been good. It hasn't been terrible, but definitely not good. And this is the time. All the writers, all the social media, it all comes out when the Caps do something like this. They're fatally flawed. They're trash. They're built the wrong way. They can't win anymore with this team. Ovechkin's too old. Backstrom's too old. Whatever. Everybody just needs to pump the brakes. Seriously. It is not time to hit the panic button on this team. This team hits the panic button when they're down 3-0 in the playoff series. So, if it's not a fatal problem, then what is it? Well, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a team in a slump. It happens to every team every year. It's just more on our radar because as Capitals fans, we watch this team every day. Now, what do the Caps need to do? Well, simply put, they need to play their way out of it. And what I mean by that is they need to stick with what they're doing. It's worked in large stretches of this season. The big thing right now is that the puck is not bouncing for them. They're not getting that puck luck. They're not getting those lucky bounces, whatever you want to call it. It ain't happening. This team does not need to overhaul what they're doing. They don't need to overhaul the roster. Well, I say that. Apparently, they need to make some changes. Otherwise, what happened at the deadline today wouldn't happen, but we'll get to that here shortly. I think this team, this team hits this slump every year. Every year, they just start to struggle. They can't put the puck in the net. It doesn't seem like they can keep the puck out of their net. This isn't a huge issue right now. If this continues for 5, 6, 7 more games, it'll be an issue. It really will. They're in a tight division. Islanders are right with them for first place in the East. They are tied. You got the Penguins, who have come storming out of their slump and are 2 points behind the Islanders and Capitals. You got the Bruins, who are a few more points back, but they got some games in hand. Now, do I think any outside team is going to threaten to swipe a playoff spot from the Capitals? No. With the Flyers really hitting the skids these last weeks, month, whatever, that kind of 5-team dynamic for that 5-team race for 4 spots is kind of not there anymore. It's going to probably be these 4 teams in the playoffs. In what order they fall in seeding-wise, who knows? But the best thing the Caps can do is keep playing their game. The puck will start to bounce for them. It will start going in. They just need to stick with it. It's just a matter of working hard and not getting down on yourself. Now, I say that, and that covers pretty much every game these last few weeks except for the Boston game last night. Because boy, oh boy, we're Were they looking real good against Boston last night? An 8-1 final. No. Why am I not jumping for joy? Why am I not standing on my desk right now claiming that the Caps are going to win the Stanley Cup? Because Boston was missing 4 of their top 6 defensemen, and they're missing their top 2 goaltenders still. Yaroslav Halak, Tuukka Rask, Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, Kevin Miller, and Matt Grzelcyk all out with injuries last night. If the Caps had done this against a regular Bruins lineup, I would be. I would be jumping on my desk right now and saying absolutely unequivocally, unchallenged, this team will win the Stanley Cup because they wiped the TD Garden ice with the Boston Bruins. However, that is not the case. So, I've said it before. When this team shows their true dominance, if they come out against Sidney Crosby and the Penguins and wipe them all over PPG Paints Arena, I will be very excited. But me being the Universal Caps pessimist, as some would say, I'm not going to get too excited yet. Now, that brings us to today. Well, I figure we're going to do trades. Let's start with the Siegenthaler trade, which happened over the weekend. Jonas Siegenthaler goes to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft. I like the trade for the Caps. I like Jonas Siegenthaler as a player. He's a solid young guy. He's big. On any other team or most other teams, he would be in the lineup on a regular basis. But the Caps, depth-wise, I mean, especially with Laviolette being such a huge fan of these 6 defensemen, and they really are good when they click. There's just not really a place for him right now. And for him, he needs to be in a place where he can play every night. And New Jersey's a great place for him to do that. So, kind of a bummer to lose him, but you get a 3rd-round pick, and both sides should be happy with this deal. Siegenthaler is going to get to play more often. He's going to get more opportunity. Should be great for him. Now, I'm going to skip over the big trade, the first one of the day for the Caps, and just mention quickly the trade we all thought was coming, the one we all knew was coming. They're going to look for a depth forward. Richard Panik has not been, really in his time with the Caps, he has not been what the Caps management had hoped he would be. Richard Panik with the Chicago Blackhawks was very good. He's very dangerous, really added a depth scoring touch to that Blackhawks roster, was really sought after. He has not recaptured that as a Capital. And it finally came to a head. He was sent to the taxi squad last week. And that kind of opened the door. It's like, okay, they're going to do something at the trade deadline. There's not a ton of cap space for him to work with, so it's not going to be anything big unless they want to give up a big piece or a couple big pieces in return. So they get Michael Raffl from the Flyers for the 5th-round pick this year. That's what was expected. Is Michael Raffl going to play every night? No. Is he going to slot in if there's injuries or if Laviolette needs to mix things up? Sure. He's a serviceable guy, a bottom 6 guy, depth guy. Can score here and there, but he's an energy guy. That's what was expected today. What was not expected was the trade that came before that. The Capitals get Anthony Mantha from the Flyers. Big guy. He's got some speed. He's got a wicked shot. Well, that kind of talent comes at a price, and a price it was. 1st-round pick in this year's draft, 2nd-round pick in next year's draft, Richard Panik, and Jacob Vrana. Wow. I gotta be honest, I got a pit in my stomach when I saw Vrana had been traded. Like that weird feeling you get when you miss a step going down the stairs. That's how I felt. I am a big fan of Jacob Vrana. I really like his talent, and I really like what he could be. He has great potential. The problem, and the reason this trade had to happen, is that he has not meshed with Peter Laviolette this year. The reason why, and I touched on this before the season, this team, this Capitals roster will stay together if possible, as long as everyone on that roster gives 100%, 100% of the time. Work hard, compete, passionate play, every minute, every shift, every game, every night. That's what Laviolette wants. That's what he expects. And it's been a problem for Jacob Vrana this year. It comes in flashes for him. When he's playing well, he is one of the hardest working guys on the ice, but when it's not going his way, when the puck doesn't bounce his way, he kind of hits a slump and just that hard work kind of stops. Now, we've seen him in Laviolette's doghouse quite a few times this season, from being benched. He was healthy scratched for a game here and there. He was healthy scratched for 2 games in a row last week. And that was kind of an indicator that this guy is not going to be part of this team long term. Now, why did I think that? Because Peter Laviolette is the coach and he's going to have this team built the way he wants it, and he's not going to have it built with guys who are not going to show up and play hard every night. Now, one could point at Evgeny Kuznetsov for the same issue, but there's a difference here. Evgeny Kuznetsov had a meeting with Peter Laviolette a couple weeks ago and sat down and basically asked, what do I need to do to be more involved in this lineup? To be back on that first power play unit? And Laviolette told him, hard work. And Kuzi stepped up to the plate and said, I want more of a challenge and I want more to do for this team. Laviolette gave him more, and Kuznetsov answered the bell. He has been great. If this Kuznetsov sticks around, he's going to be a Capital for a long time. The problem for Vrana is that he did not do that. It doesn't seem like him and Laviolette have gotten along very well at all. And honestly, I figured a trade's going to come, but it's not going to happen until after the season. They're not going to mess with this team now. Well, I guess Laviolette and Brian McClellan both felt, for this team to have a chance and to make a deep run in the playoffs, this trade has to happen now. So it's shocking. It really is. But I am also very excited about what the Caps are getting back. Anthony Mantha is well within his prime as a player. If I had to compare him to someone, I would say he reminds me of TJ Oshie, a younger TJ Oshie. That is probably the closest comparable on the Capitals roster that I can think of. He's a big guy. He's got some size. It's almost like if you mixed or merged like TJ Oshie and Tom Wilson. He's got that big net front presence. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty in front of the net. I really, really like what Anthony Mantha can bring to this team, and I think that's why they traded for him. I've heard, and plenty of other people have heard, the Caps were kind of in on Nick Foligno from the Blue Jackets. I'm glad that trade didn't happen. Foligno's an older guy on the last year of his deal. At best, he's probably a rental for the Caps if that deal happens. I heard they had interest in Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall's not what he was in 2016, 2018. I'm really, really glad those two deals didn't happen. But with Anthony Mantha, everything I've talked about, but the biggest thing here, he is under contract until 2023-24. So this is not a rental for the Caps. They're going to have some years with this guy. Hopefully this is the move that gets them back over the hump. They have not won a playoff series since 2018. Hopefully this is the move. This is the key. Hopefully. Now, what does this mean as a whole? Well, the Caps get their depth forward. They acquire a pick in the draft. They acquire a really good talent, but they give up some picks. I'm not a huge fan of giving up picks, especially when you look at the Caps and what it's going to be 4 or 5 years down the road once Nicholas Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin decide to call it a day. I don't know that it'll be total rebuild at that point. I guess it'll probably be more of a retool on the fly kind of situation, hopefully. But the best way to rebuild or retool a team is with draft picks. And by giving those up, you're kind of, you're putting your future up as collateral for success now. And the Caps aren't the only team doing it. Pretty much every team that's in a playoff spot is doing this. So hopefully this works. I mean, I think the motto for McClellan and the boys right now is squeeze every cup you can out of Ovechkin and Backstrom, and then we'll deal with the future when the future comes. So hopefully this will be the ticket the Caps need to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals and win another one. But as I'm sure many of you fellow Capitals fans are probably very shaken by this and very taken off guard. This one stings a little bit right now, if I'm being honest. As I've said, I've been a huge Jacob Verona fan, but change might be the best thing for both of these guys. Maybe a change of scenery will lead them to greener pastures. We can only hope. For right now, the Caps need to get back on track. As far as when Mantha's going to join the team, not really clear yet. It looks like a lot of players being traded are avoiding flying to their new destinations because that requires a quarantine. Detroit is roughly 8-9 hours from DC by car, so be a bit of a drive, but hopefully he decides to go that route and can be in the lineup possibly by the end of the week. And we'll kind of get a look at what this team's going to look like with Anthony Mantha in the lineup. If I had to guess where he slots in, I'd guess he slots in right on that left wing with Evgen. Excuse me. I'm going to guess he slots in on that left wing with Lars Eller. He's going to slot in right where Verona was. That it'll be Mantha Eller Oshie instead of Verona Eller Oshie. That's kind of my thought, especially after last night against Boston. The top line really doesn't change much. Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Wilson, they were good. Sprong, Backstrom, Sheary. That line has been dangerous. Those two kids with Nick Backstrom, that is a really good line. If I was in Peter Laviolette's shoes, I would not be tinkering with that. So, and of course, he's not going to play fourth line, and Laviolette's not going to break up the fourth line either because they have been outstanding as well. So, it makes a lot of sense for him to slot in on Eller's left wing. Hopefully that's what happens, but more than anything, let's hope the Caps can pull out this little slide they're in and get back on track. Hopefully we soar down the stretch. That's it for now. See ya.